Hey guys, this is the Leatherman Juice CS4. My first real multi-tool was a Leatherman Wave, which I bought in a Bass Pro Shop in British Columbia in 2011. And I actually had to go in a shop and put my hands on one so that I would convince myself to pay the price for it. And it was pretty good. I was happy with it, as advertised, as seen on YouTube. I think the Wave is a good model. Now, when it comes to multi-tools, I think you have to realize two things. Number one, having pliers with you at all time is essential. Except if you're me and you don't really need them. I never actually had a situation where I couldn't deal with it unless I had pliers. Yes, there are a lot of situations where they make things easier, but for some people. For most of us, not really. But multi-tools are cool. And the second thing would be, these are multi-tools, small, pocketable multi-tools. These pliers will never be able to do what the pliers in your toolbox do. Those are designated pliers. They cost $10 maybe, and they can do a whole lot more. These, well, they can do some things, but then you have all these nice tools around them. So it's unfair to compare them with those. This is a medium-sized multi-tool. It has a lot of weight, but it's pocketable. And I like that. The thing which made me choose this model was the fact that it had the tools that I envisioned myself using. First of all, it had the pliers, then the scissors, and it has the big scissors. My Leatherman Wave has those small scissors which do a great job, but there are models, I think older models of Leatherman Waves, which have bigger scissors and sort of like these ones. I always have a small pair of scissors with me on my Victorinox keychain knife, and I think scissors are very, very useful. So this was one reason. The second one, well, the third one was actually the knife blade, because even though all the tools here are non-locking, having a knife blade with you is always practical. Even if you don't always need it, there are situations where it can come in handy. The next one was the saw. The most used tool on my Victorinox knives, the ones that I take out here, is the saw. I find that when you're working with wood, saws are great to have. And this one, for the size it is, and for the size of the multi-tool, does an excellent job. Just about as good as the one on my Leatherman Wave does. Excellent. Now, of course, you also get the corkscrew opener. And I have to admit, I did not read the instructions, but you can create leverage with this bottle cap can opener, maybe, and retrieve the cork out of the bottle using leverage. That didn't work for me. Like I said, I did not read the instructions. Seen other people do it. Seemed to work, but for me it didn't. Now, I didn't like two things about this when I got it. The first one was the fact that the blade was not sharpened. It had an edge, but that edge would not cut. I could run my finger on the edge and it wouldn't get cut. So I sharpened it immediately. And the second one, which I was a bit more disappointed at, was that the scissors didn't really work. You could put a piece of paper in between them and you would have to actually work your way through that piece of paper with the scissors, not just close them and it's cut. I didn't like that. Now, the next disappointment came when I actually tried to remove a corkscrew from a wine bottle. Not the fact that I wasn't able to create leverage, that was probably my own fault for not reading those instructions, but it's very, very flimsy. The corkscrew openers on my Victorinox knives are much more solid than this one. This one is very, very flimsy. So at this point, it just takes room here. I used it once and I said it probably might break, so I'm not going to use it again. Now, about 2 or 3 months ago, I found an old pocket knife that I wanted to clean and sharpen, and I said I want to disassemble it completely. So I picked up my juice and my wave, and I tried to remove the thumb studs, and I kept losing grip with the juice. I did that about 3 or 4 times. I had to be very careful because the knife was still sharp, much sharper than the knife blade this one had when it came to me. And I just couldn't do it. I kept losing grip. What I ended up doing was I grabbed another multi-tool. I think it was the 302 from Gonzo, and I immediately unscrewed the thumb studs and sharpened the knife. Happy end for that knife. However, looking back at all of this, the saw does a good job. Now, I never used the flathead screwdrivers. Never actually used them. I did use the Phillips head screwdrivers, and all the tools are non-locking, so when you're using the Phillips head screwdrivers, you're going to have to apply downward pressure, make sure that you don't go one way so that they close. But you get a non-locking multi-tool, that's what you're going to get. You know that up front. However, the fact that the knife blade came unsharpened, that the scissors didn't work properly, the corkscrew is so flimsy, and then I kept losing grip when trying to remove thumb studs from a pocket knife. That's not a difficult task. That is not something for which I would need a heavy-duty pair of pliers or my Leatherman Surge. I think this should do. Now, I want to be fair here, and if you want to grab onto something, it does a good job. Okay? The teeth sink into the piece of wood, like here. You can squeeze it. I've seen videos or pictures of people who broke theirs and Leatherman replaces them and so on and so forth. You can get a decent enough grip, but they do tend to move a bit more than what I would expect from this size of a multi-tool. Of course, the wave is going to be much better at just grabbing hold of this piece of wood, and the squirt is not going to be as good. But if you were going to place this somewhere between the wave and the squirt, this would be more towards the end of the squirt than the wave. In my opinion, in my experience, this particular multi-tool. I think quality control when it comes to this one was non-existent. I mean, an unsharpened blade, yes, the blade initially had a much thicker grind, and I had a friend of mine thin the grind out. I sharpened it afterwards, and now, where's that? Here. Now I can actually cut a piece of wood with relative light effort, I would say. Of course, it's not going to be as comfortable as even a pocket knife because it has all these sharpened edges which are probably just as sharp as the edge on my knife blade when it came. I can't let that go, and nor should anybody. A knife blade should cut, and when you get something like this, which costs a relative large amount of money for what it is, you should get a sharpened knife blade. This one wasn't, and now, yeah, I can work with it, and I also asked my friend if he could fix the scissors, and he has fixed the scissors. So now they also work. They do now what they were supposed to do when I got the multi-tool. But keeping all this in mind, the price you pay, the fact that it's a Leatherman. Now, I've tried other multi-tools. I have a small Gerber vise, which it's pretty cool. I think the squirt is better. It's smaller, it feels better in hand, but yeah. I've tried Victor & Ox multi-tools. I like Leathermans. They sort of fit me for some reason. But this one, I kind of like. However, like I said, if you were to put the wave here and the squirt here, this one tends to move towards what the squirt can do, not as I assumed, move over more to the Leatherman wave side, simply going by its size and weight. So yeah, these were my opinions on the Leatherman Juice. I ended up testing it more and more, and nowadays I have to admit I don't use it that much. I took it out here simply for this review. Normally I carry the Surge because I like to play around with it. It's a bit heavy, it's a bit big, but I like to. I don't need half the things I have with me. I just like to play around with things. This was, for me, a bit of a disappointment, well, more than a bit of a disappointment. And like I said, this might just be this multi-tool. Others might be fine, but this was my experience. These were my thoughts, my conclusions. If you have any thoughts or questions about the Leatherman Juice CS4, add them in the comment section. I'll try to get to them as soon as possible. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a great day.